This takes a process of a few minutes that the students have to go through, and they should not be doing this at the time of their first exam. So I'll talk about this after we finish this segment, at the end of this segment, but you should give them plenty of time to get set up. As Marcia said, the idea of using the software, because it costs $10 an exam, should be only with their midterm and final, or 2 exams over the course of the semester. But this time only, we have 3 exams. So what I would suggest is, and I put it in the instructions at the end here, that you go ahead and have them take a bogus quiz, some quiz that is just a practice quiz, such that you can practice their setup with you. And then it'll give you some practice in getting familiarized with this system. So once they authenticate, then they're going to have the 4 components that work together. Okay, and as I said before, so this works with the Blackboard course management system. And this week, the software secure people are finishing the hookup. So you won't be able to get in quite yet, but by next week you should be able to get in. There's no need to get in for next week because the students are still going to be purchasing equipment. So once again, before midterm perhaps is when you should be making sure that they have all the necessary equipment. The Secure Exam Browser is the software that's installed on the student's computer, and the USB recording device is that little device I showed you earlier. On your computer, you will be installing Secure Exam Builder, and then you will link up to the website on the Software Secure Server web view. Okay, so here's a little schematic for you so you can see on the screen. You can see that the students over to the right, the student's PC then has the remote Proctor browser software, and in addition to that it has the USB remote Proctor device, and that will link with the course management system. As they go in through Software Secure to pick up their exam, you have previously, with your Exam Builder software, you have previously set up the exam, and so they'll simply go in, log in, and it will start the authentication process and start to record both sound and video data that you can look at later. In addition, something that I haven't said, if you'll see at the bottom of the screen, Software Secure people will be reviewing each and every test that each student takes. So they'll look for suspicious activity, so you don't have to take the time to do so, and it will give you a report of any suspicious activity that might exist within that student's test. Okay, so the first thing that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to set up their device here, as it said here, and then if the device is not connected, they won't be permitted entry into the exam. So if it's not working properly, they'll immediately get some feedback so that they'll have to set it up. So there's no worries that they'll start the exam, get midway through the exam, and they won't have authenticated. Also, during the exam, any audio or video clips of the entire exam will be shot. There's screenshots, so you'll be able to get a sense of what's going on when they get kicked out or whatever. You know, we've had some of those issues. So, okay, next. Okay, and I said this already. If the internet connection gets dropped or there's inadequate setup video, then the program will attempt to reestablish a connection for them, which is nice because we've had problems with connection before where students said they couldn't get on. And once again, this will all be recorded such that we will be able to tell what's been going on. Okay, so I set up a little list of steps that starting next week you'll be able to go in. I'll send you an email to remind you with some of the links I've put in here for you. But the email will be sent late this week, and then next week you can start. You'll receive a username and password, and I will give you a generic username and password. Well, I'll give you a specific username, but a generic password such that you should go in and change it to something that you prefer once you go in. There will be the secure exam links that you will need, and then 2 faculty guides to help you. And please, I can get on with you and go over this, and we can work I can work on an individual basis to get you set up and make you comfortable with this. Then the next step is for you to go in and download the Secure Exam Builder software to your desktop. In a matter of weeks after you send an announcement and put on your schedule for a practice quiz, you should have the students attempt to take a practice quiz. Any students that say that they cannot use the device or this process, and you need to contact me immediately, because there are no exceptions unless they are vetted by us in the program. We do have a military exemption procedure where they'll have to fill out paperwork, and we'll be in contact with their military superiors to make sure that it's a valid excuse. So then you will set up the practice quiz through the Secure Exam Builder. After the students take the practice quiz, you should go in and look at the results so you can get used to the system. And once again, when you go through this process, if you encounter any issues with the system or the device or otherwise, you can contact me. If you note any suspicious activities, even in doing the practice quiz, I would suggest you contact either myself or Marcia, because it's good for us to know that we can about this, because then we can educate the students as to what would be considered suspicious activity. It will give them notification of previous suspicious activity on their part every time they go in to remind them not to do the same things, which is nice. Okay, so this is just a little instructional slide on how to download the Exam Builder. So once again, this is the application that you'll download on your computers to set up your exams. Once you've installed it, you launch Exam Builder by clicking on the icon that will automatically load on your desktop after installation. And this will automatically be linked with our Blackboard site, and you'll go in from there. And so there you can see there's a guide, a PDF guide that you can download. And once again, I'll send this to you in the email, so it'll be more direct instead of having to go into this PowerPoint. And finally, the second utility that you will use as a professor, as an instructor, is you will go to this website that's listed here on your screen, this web view, and it will give you a list of the exam records for all your students, for all your exams, only your exams, and you can look up each student's exam, or you can just look for suspicious activity. So you're entitled to do both. And the next set of screens actually just shows the login for the, so that's what your login would look like for WebView. And once again, this is after the students have taken the exam, so you can go in and look at the results for that test. And then finally, there would be a list, as it's viewed here, of the students and individual tests listed. And then the last slide is a funny picture. That's what they look like. So you can see on the right is the enrollment picture. So if you see a female, that doesn't quite look right on the enrollment picture, that doesn't match with the exam picture, then you've got suspicious activity right off the bat. So, there's an illustration of what the screen would look like for any suspicious video clips for any one student. Do you want me to wait to take questions at the end, Marcia, or should we field some questions now?
Maybe we could wait till the, we're getting ready. That's true. Maybe we could just wait till the end, everybody be writing their questions down, because the next stuff we're just going to brief through really quickly.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll turn it back over to you.
So Carol and I can tell you that we did practice this, and we did a cheating scenario. So one of us was in the system and the other one was standing behind and pretending to give answers and things, and it did show that there was suspicious activity. But the students do look funny. As you could see in those pictures, they kind of have a little bit of an alien look to them. So we'll try that out. Now I just wanted to quickly go over the syllabus template. I've sent out a couple of templates recently. And really, it's just so that students in our program always know where they can find the information they need, that pertinent information for every course. So here's an example of the template. And I just want to point out that everything in red are things that you must change. So, of course, you want to put in your course name, your course number, your contact information, how students can get in touch with you if they have a question. You want to use the official university description of the course. So if you don't know what your official description is, I can give that to you. You want to put in the official approved course objectives for your course, and I could also give those to you, because each one of our courses goes through a very stringent review process through a curriculum committee. Once it's approved, it then gets approved by the university level, and that course description and objectives are then the official description and objectives for that course. If you change any of the objectives in any course throughout the time that you're teaching that course, that's perfectly fine. But what we have to do is we actually have to put that course through a review process again and get the official description and objectives changed. So anytime that you want to make any changes like that, just let us know. It's perfectly fine. You want to put in this course structure. How are you going to run your course? Are you going to put material up every week? Are you going to have a completely asynchronous course, a synchronous course? You want to explain exactly how you are going to do your course. You want to put your required textbooks, of course. If there's any supplemental textbooks that you think would be helpful for students, but you didn't feel that they should be required textbooks, you can list those. And there's a new blurb on this remote proctor that Carol just went over, and that has to be in every one of our syllabi. We are going to be using remote proctor for every one of our courses starting this fall. The only courses this fall that are not going to use remote proctor are the practicum courses, only for this fall. Starting in the spring, every single one of our courses will be using the remote proctor. So we have to add this blurb in, and I'll send out the new template again. But Sue Oken is also adding all of the material in the syllabus template that has to go in our syllabi into the Blackboard syllabus. So it will be in your Blackboard syllabus. Just make sure everything that's in the Blackboard and your printable syllabus matches up. So here I just put in an example of the clinical parasitology and mycology syllabus for this semester. So as you can see, the title of the course is there, the course number, the instructor information, how the instructor is going to be reached for this course. I always include the number of technology assistants, the official course description, and the official course objectives are listed here. And the syllabus. Now here's one thing that I really want to point out. This is important for everybody. So you should explain how you're going to be evaluating the students. So do you have case studies that are going to be graded? Do you have written assignments? Do you have discussion board assignments? Do you have weekly quizzes, monthly quizzes, an occasional quiz? Do you have exams? Are they short answer? Are they multiple choice? Are they matching? These are the types of things you want to let the students know in the syllabus. So in red, I have in here assignments. How many? What type of assignment? Are they individual? You really have to point this out and be clear. Can students work together? Are these group assignments? If they're not group assignments, you really need to stress that students are not allowed to work on these assignments as a group. They must be worked on individually. Because if you don't state this in the syllabus, you can't expect the students to know that, oh, I wasn't supposed to work in a group, or I was supposed to work in a group. You really want them to know which one they can do. If you are using the MTS training site, so we do have the rights to go into the MedLab training site. There are some tutorials in there. So for example, we use the tutorials in the lab operations course a lot. There's some tutorials for microbiology that I use. I use the parasitology, the mycology, for the parasite mycology course, the gram staining tutorial. There's tutorials for every subject. Some subjects have more than others. So if you want to go into the website, we can add you into it. You can go in and see what tutorials are there, and you can assign a tutorial with an exam. Each tutorial has an exam at the end. They're very simple exams, but the tutorials are done very well. So if there is one for your course and you want to add it as an assignment, here's a little blurb that you can add to your syllabus. Keep in mind, don't just copy and paste this. If you're not going to use the MTS training website as an assignment, you don't want to put it in your syllabus. So just cut that out. Just take the whole thing, delete it, and don't even include it. And just fill in. Some people were quickly doing their syllabi and posted them in their courses, and under the assignments and the quizzes, you kept the questions here, how many and what types of assignments. So you really want to make sure you fill that in before you post your syllabus to the students. So here's an example. There's 15 weekly sessions in this course. How are they going to be run? When do your weeks begin? When do they end? When do you expect students to complete assignments for that week? Your required textbooks, Connie, you should recognize that one. Your supplemental textbooks, if you have any. The Proctor Pro blurb. And then your course evaluation methods. Be as specific as you can here. What assignments do you have? There will be weekly assignments throughout this course that may include, short answer questions, case studies. If you have specific assignments, like here, case study assignments, each week there will be a group case study. If you can, put in rubrics. How are you going to grade these students? You really need to be clear on that. Students want to know what they're going to be tested on, what they're going to be graded on, and how they are graded. So if you have a rubric for them, you should include that at least in your weekly session area of your course, if not in your syllabus. Here's the MTS training. Here's a blurb on the quiz. There'll be weekly quizzes on that week's material. You want to let them know what they're going to be quizzed on. There are multiple choice questions. They include pictures and illustrations. So you want to be as descriptive as you can without writing a tome. You don't want it to be a 10-page syllabus, but you want to really let the students know what they are to expect in this course. Explain your exams. Are they multiple choice? Are they true false? Are they case studies? So the course grade computation. However you are going to do your final grades. So whether it's a point system, put in what points you're going to be assigning. If it's percentage, I personally do my courses as percentages, but you don't have to. You can do them however you feel comfortable with your course, and just be clear. How much are assignments worth? Are they weighted equally, or are some assignments weighted more than others? You should let them know that. Quizzes, however many exams you have, your final exam, and what each one is worth. Those students are very grade hungry. They want to know what they have to do to get an A. So you really need to tell them up front. Also, the grading scale. The grading scale has to be included. And I want everyone to point out that I sent a couple of templates that had a mistake in it in the D and D- range. So just double check Sue has put in a grading scale into your Blackboard course that's the correct scale. So just make sure everything in your Blackboard course and your printable syllabus match up. So the D is 63 to 66, and D minus is a 60 to a 62. So just make sure they match up there. And then here is an example of this Parasite course assignments that are weighted evenly so the students know that they're all the same percentage. 15% quizzes that are weighted evenly, the Parasite exam, the mycology exam, all worth a total of 100%, the grading scale, and then this exam's in Blackboard. This was a syllabus, the previous syllabus. Carol Smith always had this included in her syllabi for courses and how to take exams. So this blurb was kept into the syllabus. But one thing to emphasize, Internet Explorer should not be used. So I bold it and put it in red in the syllabus. I bold it and put it in every color I can imagine, although they say that you should just try to stick to the color black when you're doing text for students because some students are colorblind. We shouldn't have anyone colorblind, so it might be okay for us to emphasize using color, but just that's something to keep in mind for online courses. You want to make them accessible to everyone. So you really need to emphasize over and over and over again that students cannot use Internet Explorer. And the reason is if you have an exam that has figures, pictures, for some reason Internet Explorer and Blackboard do not work well together, and Blackboard will just crash in Internet Explorer. So I've been telling the students you cannot use Internet Explorer. You must use Mozilla Firefox if you're using a PC, and you should use Safari if you're using a Mac. I have not had any issues in the spring or summer semester with exams crashing since I implemented you must use these browsers, and if you do not, your exam will not be reset. Wherever it crashed, that's your grade. If it crashed at question 10 and you were only able to answer 10 questions, oh well. I mean, I tend to be a little more strict. And then after the fact, if the student really did their exam crashed and they have a legitimate reason, I will reset it after. But I come out in my syllabus very stringent where the exams will not be reset. And then course policies. So I have a list in the template of course policies that I sometimes use, but feel free to change these however you want. They're your policies. It's your course. Keep in mind there are things you have to include in there. If you are going to be deducting points for any reason in your course, late assignments, incomplete assignments, you have to state that in your policy. So if you have any policies like that, make them very clear. You have to lay out your expectations. You can't expect students to be mind readers. They need to know up front. And then later, if they don't turn in an assignment on time or something happens, you can say it was right in the syllabus. The syllabus is your contract with the student. So I actually, in the first quiz, I give weekly quizzes in my classes. In the first quiz, I actually include a bunch of questions from the syllabus. I tell them I'm going to. You will get some questions in this quiz on the syllabus. And it never fails. There are students that get these questions wrong, even though it's right in their syllabus. All they had to do is read the syllabus, so they don't always look at it. So it's a good practice to stick in some syllabus questions into your first quiz. So again, just example course policies, and change these in any way that makes sense for your course. The university policies have to be in our printable syllabus, and Sue also will add them into the Blackboard syllabus. So again, really make sure your Blackboard syllabus and your printable syllabus are matching up and all the information jives together. So here is an example in the template. You do not have to use this exact schedule. It's just a template that you can use. You really need to give the students, if you are doing your course in weeks, what each date is for your weeks. You should give them the topic. If you have reading assignments, textbook chapters, you should give them that each week and give them a little list. You know, the students should have a nice one-shot view of what their workload is for this entire course. Are they going to have to listen to lectures? Are they going to have to take a quiz? Do they have assignments every single week? Exactly what date is their first exam, their second exam, their third, their final? However you do your course, it really should be laid out in a schedule format, however you want to do it, but this is an example of what. And here's what one would look like, where all the weeks are in there, the topic, the chapters, and then the assignments that those students are going to have to do every single week. The other thing that we just wanted to point out was objectives and course mapping. So we all know that when we're writing objectives, objectives have various levels. So we have level 1, level 2, and level 3. And this is from NACLS. NACLS states that level 1 objectives or level 1 exam questions are recall, which are knowledge and comprehension-based questions. Level 2 are interpretation, which include application and analysis, and level 3 are problem solving, which includes synthesis and evaluation. So since we are an MLS program, we should have objectives that are at various levels. We don't want all level 1 objectives or all level 3 objectives. And the same thing with our exam questions. You really want to be cognizant of, you know, how many level 1, level 2, and level 3 exam questions do you have? We definitely want a nice mixture. We don't want exams that are all level 1 recall questions. They're just not at a high enough level for an MLS program. We wouldn't want them all at level 3 either, because that might be an exam that's far too difficult. So the verbs, when you are writing objectives in your courses, as we all know, our course objectives and our lecture objectives, every lecture should have objectives. All of our courses have our official objectives. So, for example, if your lecture is on, let's just say, cestodes, you know, you want your objectives to match the material you're going to be covering in that lecture. And you want them to be at the appropriate level. So if your exam questions are a mixture of recall and synthesis and evaluation, you want your objectives to be that type of mixture as well. So here are some verbs. We all start our objectives with a verb. So upon successful completion of this week's material, the student will be able to, you know, the level 1 would be explain the difference between a cestode and a trematode or something. If you wanted it to be an application, illustrate the life cycle of this particular organism, or diagram the life cycle of this particular organism. Or if you want it to be a level 3 type of objective, you know, formulate or interpret. You know, so you really want to think about these objectives very carefully in your lecture objectives. And while you're thinking about those objectives, we are required to map at least one exam in every course. So usually we'll pick the final exam. The most comprehensive exam in each course should be aligned with your course objectives and your lecture objectives, and they should be leveled as well. So I'm going to emphasize that we all should be doing this in general. It's just good educational practice. It's going to be, it is required when we have to submit our self-study as for our reaccreditation to NACLS. We are going to have to give them this information for one exam for every single course we're teaching. Since we have a new curriculum, we can focus on the courses in the new curriculum for this, because some of the courses are not going to be taught any longer. So you may not want to spend a lot of time on a course that isn't going to be taught any longer, but it is good practice anyway. But for any course in our new curriculum, this has to be done. And so I'm going to be asking everyone to send in their mapping. Now, Carol is setting up some mapping using Blackboard, and she will send out an email and let everyone know how she's doing it. And I may switch to that Blackboard method as well. But for now, I just use this method. I sent it out in an email, and for example, I have 100 questions on my molecular diagnostics final exam. So on the left-hand side of an Excel spreadsheet, I copied and pasted every single one of those exam questions. So this is just a little tidbit of it. It goes down for several pages. I then matched aligned each question with the course objectives. So if I have 10 objectives in the course objectives, I aligned the question with the course objective. I then added in what lecture it was. So was it the recombinant DNA lecture, the transcription and translation lecture, the oncology lecture, the infectious disease lecture? I then matched which lecture to the lecture number. So in this example for this question, it was course objective 6, lecture of oncology, and the lecture objective happened to be number 8, and this was a level 2 interpretation question. So every one of these questions is aligned to the course objective, the lecture objective number is leveled. I then went in to the attempts for after the exam was completed. Everyone had finished the exam, and I put in the percentage of students that answered that question correctly. Any question that was less than 60%, meaning less than 60% of the class answered it correctly, I highlighted it. So when I went back, I go back and I look at that question and I think, okay, was my objective not right here? Maybe my objective doesn't actually match what I'm asking. Maybe my content in that area isn't sufficient to answer that question. So maybe I need to remove that question. Maybe I need to reword it. So I'm going to go in and be evaluating this every time I teach this course. And if there's a trend, I may not change a question immediately just because one class had trouble with it. But if I use that question over and over a couple of semesters, that same question seems to be trouble, that indicates that there's something wrong. That question has to be reworded. The content in that lecture has to be re-emphasized, updated, whatever. And then you want to look at your trends and just make sure that your course is all aligned and mapped and everything makes sense. You're not asking them questions that you're not covering. So sometimes we know the material and we think we covered something and maybe we really didn't. So this alignment process really forces us to see, did we cover it? How did we cover it? Does it align with what we're saying to the students in the beginning? Here's what we're covering by these objectives. And so when I finished the final exam for molecular, I actually had an add a course objective. I had to add a couple of lecture objectives that were missing, that I had some questions that really didn't line up with any of those objectives. I had to add a few, and then I found a few questions that I need to go back and reword. So this alignment is very, very critical. Okay, general policies. So in general, in our program, students have to make a grade of C- or higher. This is a new policy that we started this past spring. We started it, and we've really been emphasizing it in every MLS course. And the university itself, you just have to pass a course. So if a student gets a D in a course, it's perfectly fine. For medical laboratory sciences, we were finding that a student might get a D in, let's say, microbiology 1, and then get a D- in microbiology 2. Technically, they pass the course, but they actually don't know microbiology enough to start clinical rotations. So this really helps us. Students that can't get at least a C- in any one of our MLS courses don't know the material enough and really can't go into the clinical rotations. It's not up to the clinical sites to be teaching the students the didactic material they need to know. So we can't put that burden onto the clinical site. So the students have to repeat any course that they don't get at least a C- in. So if you have a student in your course that doesn't get at least a C-, you should be notifying us. You should be letting Brad Duncan know. He's the advisor. He's going to advise the student, let them know they have to take that course again. Students also in our program have to maintain a 2.5 or higher overall GPA or MLS GPA. So anyone with less than a 2.6 GPA gets a warning letter at the end of every single semester. Anyone with a GPA less than 2 is put on probation. They have the next semester to raise their GPA up to at least a 2.5, well, above a 2.0 for probation in order to be removed from probation. So if you have students that are failing your courses, please let us know so that we can, get the proper indicators to them in place. Other general policies. Extra credit, just so everyone knows. We have a policy in the program where we don't allow a student at the end of the semester to give you some extra work to boost their grade. If throughout the semester doing your course, they end up with a D and everyone else in the class gets an A, B, or C, they get a D. They cannot be allowed to be handing you in a couple of, articles or a little summary to boost their grade from a D to a C or a B. The students have to know what they need to know. And so if they don't know it, don't be afraid to give them the grade that they deserve. So usually we tell faculty, just tell them, this is an MLS policy. We do not accept extra work to boost up your grades. And students can be told this up front. You need to excel in this class. If you want to be in the class, do the work to get you at least a B. Failing grades, students fail courses pretty regularly. I mean, our courses are somewhat difficult. Some students don't study enough. Some students really may not have understood what they needed to do. Some students, take on more than they can handle. They will be advised not to take as many courses, but we should, as instructors, advise students halfway through the semester. If you see that you have a student or two that is just not performing well, send them a little email. I'm noticing that you're having trouble. Try to set up an appointment with them. Let them know that they're in danger and it's halfway through the semester and you're concerned about them. So don't just let the whole semester go on and at the end of the semester all of a sudden, oops, sorry, you failed the class. Yes, these are adults. Yes, they should be keeping track of their performance. They should be looking at their grades, but I think it's good practice for us to let them know halfway through the semester if there is an issue that should be concerning. Okay, incomplete grades. Every now and again we have a student that just gets overwhelmed and can't finish their coursework in a given semester. If you, as the instructor, want to give them or provide them with extra time, it is your call. And if you do want to do that, you can give the student an I or an incomplete grade. And the other thing that we require in the department is if you give them an incomplete, you also have to set up a learning contract with them, a learning agreement. So you should email the student, call the student, and say, okay, I'm going to give you extra time to finish your assignments in this course, and let's set dates right now. When you are missing quiz 2 and 3 in the final exam, when can you take those? What would be feasible for you? Set that learning contract up. So here's an example of the learning contract. I sent this out towards the end of this past semester. I'll send them out at the end of, towards the end of each semester. If you need to set up a contract with a student, you can use this as a template, you know, to the student, from you. I kind of got some of this wording from some learning contracts that Carol Smith has developed, and you just want to let them know you have agreed to complete this work. Here are your outstanding assignments. Here are the dates that we have agreed upon that you will complete them. Once they complete these assignments by that date, you can then go in and finalize their grade, and their I will then turn into, they'll see their actual grade for that course. You should have them send you an email to confirm, I have read the learning agreement and I understand and will be held to the dates that are stated in the learning agreement. So you need to get documentation that they understand that they are to complete these assignments by these dates. Okay, so now we're going to move into the question and answer. So anything we've talked about today or anything else, maybe an issue you've had, we can open it up for a Q&A. So here's a question. Once you have entered a grade of I, you will not be able to alter it. You can email the student's final grade and I can, okay, so that's Brad. So Brad's letting you know that you can enter I and you won't be able to change it. You're going to have to then send in the final grade to Brad, and Brad can change that grade. Okay, who I hear? Sylvia. Okay, go ahead, Sylvia.
Do all hear me now? Can everybody hear me? Marcia, can you hear me?
This is Patty. I can hear you.
Thank you. It doesn't seem like anyone else can hear me, but my question is, if you can hear me, Marcia, please answer it. Are there any privacy issues, or is there anything we should put in our syllabi to remind students that when they do take exams that they will be under a video camera and that they should dress accordingly? And the second question I have is, can we put up the RPR Pro on more than one computer?
All right. Oh, can you hear me now? I think you can. Sylvia, those are really good. Those are good questions. So Carol has sent out to students some information on the Proctor Pro. So that probably is something that should be added, just a reminder to, wear clothing would be nice. That would be a good thing to let the students know.
Although the image is so distorted, I don't know we could make out anything particular anyway.
That's true.
I wouldn't want to take the chance. I think that we tell the students, because I can down the line say, well, I couldn't take the exam because I was afraid of everyone looking at me or something like that.
Right.
And then what if they can put it onto 2 different computers, Carol?
Yeah, can I set this Pro up on actually 3 devices, because
Absolutely, yeah. So basically what's happening is that it's actually just the software that's installed on any one computer. You can install it on any one computer, and then you will connect with that computer to Blackboard for the first software, which is the exam, the setup of the exam. The second software, which is to view the exams, is actually a link and not software you're installing on the computer, so that can be done from any computer also.
And is there any problem with different, like I have Windows 8 on one computer and Windows 2000 and whatever on another?
No, it's a browser, so the application is a browser application. So I don't think it should be a problem. I mean,
okay.
we'll as we go along, we'll encounter those problems and have to work with them. But this software is not something new. It's been used by many universities for many years now. So and it's being used more and more on these online programs. So they're experienced in that venue.
Right, and I just want to say, Marcia, I think this was wonderful. I congratulate you on the number of students that you have in this program, and I'm glad that you have everything so organized. I think it was a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Silver. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? No?
Oh, now, come on. There's got to be some questions out there. I'm not the only one with questions.
When will you send the documents? Oh. So, wait. When will you send the documents reviewed during the session? Oh, Trent, I think are you talking about the Proctor Pro? I think. Carol.
Yes. Oh, so Thursday I'll send out an initial email, and then I will send you an email next week as to when the connection is made between Blackboard and your ExamView software. That we're in a testing environment now, such that the ExamView software has to link up specifically with our Blackboard utility.
And then immediately after the exam is completed by the students, faculty will get an email, or will be able to go in and view through the website if there was suspicious activity with any of the students.
Yeah, I would wait about at least a few hours, because each and every video is viewed by somebody at Software Secure. So I'm sure that it takes a period of time for them to review.
So the grade will go into our grade center immediately?
So the Blackboard is not affected at all. The Blackboard utility is really not affected. This is kind of something that is over it. Matter of fact, they can't even see the grades. Well, the only thing they'll see is they'll be able to see activity that goes outside the browser. It blocks them from going outside the browser. In addition to that, it will the room environment, it records the room environment, but they don't see any testing information. So just as always, the test information will go into Blackboard. So that won't be affected at all.
And I guess I have another question. I imagine that this Proctor Pro has tested all this, but what about on tablets? I know that some students work from tablets. Is that all compatible with everything?
As far as I know, that's what they said it is. I mean, having worked in technology before, as soon as you say, it's been pre-tested and been used for years, you'll come up with something. So it's going to be, something that we'll have to deal with on a case-by-case basis for a while, and actually, on a limited level forever. But it's a good point that you bring up, that there are going to be new environments that are not tested, and we'll have to look at that.
Yeah. Okay, you've got me right here who travels with her Microsoft Surface Pro.
Right.
And so I'm going to have to make sure that I can get...
Yeah, it's my understanding you'll be fine, basically because you're going to be connecting to a server, which is remote from you anyway. So.
All right. Okay. And one last, I promise one, maybe I shouldn't say.
No, go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
No, my question is, what will be you think the very, very firm date that this all will be available for the instructors to start putting on their computers and stuff like that? Again, with travel.
Yeah, you can install the software. So I gave the links within this, and then I'll send out on Thursday your username and password. The username and password is really for after the exam setup. As far as you setting up an exam, I would say that you can. You have to give the students some time to get into the course and get their equipment anyway. So I would say that you wouldn't try out a quiz on them for at least 2 to 3 weeks. I would say the best time to do it would be about a week or 2 before their midterm, if that's where you're planning on using it, so that you try it out a week or 2 before the midterm. I would say that's probably, 3 to 4 weeks into the semester, so they've had time to get their equipment. You send out an announcement saying, I'm going to have a practice quiz using Proctor Pro system. Everybody has to have their equipment. If you do not, that type of thing. But as far as you being able to get into WebView, you should be able to get in next week. You just won't see any exams yet because you haven't set up that practice quiz yet.
Okay, I realize the most important question that I wanted to ask on this is I've already loaded my exams. Do I have to do this again for putting them into? No? Okay.
No, because what you'll do is basically when you go into the exam view icon, you're going to be channeled into your Blackboard course, and then you'll go right into your exam link just as you would always go into Blackboard, pick the exam. So you can always have you're not going to remake. You can make an exam with software secure. I wouldn't recommend it. I would say use Blackboard as you always do, and then go in through Exam View and pick those exams that you want to be remotely proctored.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And just to emphasize again that we do have some military students that are located abroad, and they may not be able to use the remote proctor service. So we will be setting up signed agreements with them and with their commanding officers, and all of our students starting this fall will be proctored. So if the student has a very legitimate reason, they're stationed abroad, or if someone truly just couldn't afford to purchase the system, we will review these on a case-by-case basis. And if they do not use the remote proctor, they have to have an official proctor. They can't, they will have to go and use a proctoring service. So I don't know if their local library has one, or something like, Kaplan Learning Center, or Sullivan Learning Center, or Kumon Learning Center. Every single one of our students that are in the MLS program will need to have proctored final exam, mid, and another exam. They all have to be treated the same way. So if for some reason you have a student that says that they can't do the remote proctor, please contact Carol and let her know, and she'll let you know if they are, they have been given permission to use an alternate proctor. If not, then, especially our new students, they need to get on board with the Proctor Pro.
Conversely, can I add that if I get wind or Marcia gets wind of a student that is under those conditions also, that will put it out to the faculty that have those students in their courses. So we might get a list up or something like that if that happens.
And Carol had a good idea that she was going to make a development course in Blackboard and put all of the faculty in the MLS program into a development course, so we can actually do these virtual faculty meetings in a development course. All of us would be put in as TAs, and we can have a discussion board where if we're having an issue, we can go in there also and type up a question and answer, and we're all in Blackboard anyway teaching our courses, so we can all go into the same, like the MLS program development course that we can all have access to, and she can post things on Remote Proctor, or any type of, we can put the syllabus template in there, we can put the learning agreement, anything we all need to have access to, we can put in that development course. So once that's set up, we'll let everybody know, and you'll be able to access it as a TA. Any other questions anybody have? I'm going to apologize. I didn't hit the record button until we were just had started the Remote Proctor. So I'm going to post the link to the recorded session and the slides that were presented, and the recording in the beginning you won't be able to hear. I apologize. No other questions? You can email any questions at any time if you think of one later. And we're just very, very happy to have such dedicated and people teaching our students and getting our new MLSs out there and ready for their new careers. And we really couldn't do this without each and every one of you. So thank you very much for wanting to take time out of your busy schedules to teach courses in the GWU MLS program. It's wonderful for us, and we highly appreciate it. No more questions? No? Okay, we'll be posting links, and we will talk to everybody very, very soon. Good luck. Classes start Monday for everybody that's teaching this fall. And anyone that needs a development course, just let me know, and we'll have Sue set up a development course for you for next semester if you need it. Okay. Bye, everybody.